Hey everyone, and welcome to Big Red Homestead. I'm Josh, that's Caleb, and today we are talking about a Husker Road Big Ten win. Nebraska makes it happen on the road, beats Illinois 20-7. Matt Rhule's first Big Ten road win, first Big Ten win in general. So we have a ton to talk about today. Caleb, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. Been eating the W since Friday night, just feasting on a dub.
Jameis.
Yes. Shout out also to my sister for getting married this weekend. Also not doing it on a Husker game. Double shout out. So
yes,
it's been a party all weekend, and got to do that in good conscience of the Huskers winning as well. It was a little nervy at times, but I don't know if that's nervy just because we just have PTSD from the Huskers because, you know, we won by 13.
Right. I mean, I tweeted after the game, it was like the closest 13-point win in college football history with how many terrible things happened. It was ugly. There was a lot to talk about, obviously, in this game. We're going to be going through it all. Some huge takeaways offensively, defensively, and some of the things we can build off of, you know, building off a huge win, but also individually and offense, defense, moving forward into the bye week before a huge 3-game stretch here to give us a chance in the Big Ten West. So that's why this is such an interesting time with so much to talk about. So with that said, let's talk about the offensive side and some of the big takeaways here. Obviously, there's questions kind of all over the board right now with this offense. You know, they managed 20 points here against an Illinois team that had been iffy on the defensive side at times. Obviously, this year has not been Illinois' year after, you know, a lot of changes, losing so much NFL talent, a team that was coming off giving up 44 points to Purdue. So what are your thoughts here kind of broadly about the offensive performance, and what's your biggest takeaway here on the offensive side?
You know, we were able to score 20 points. You know, I mean, it's not nothing. And, you know, it is a Big Ten opponent on the away, on a road, on a short week. There's a lot of good things.
Right.
I really, you know, after the punt, after the special teams, and we were able to get that football, and then a Harburg touchdown right away, I was feeling really good about the offense. You know, we scored there within two times within less than a minute, and that felt great. And you feel really excited about the offense, and then we just hit a wall. You know, I think Albano hit a couple good kicks, the one into the wind, you know, bad snap. It wasn't great. You know, you wish you make 3 of 3, especially when you're that close.
The offense ended up with 3 turnovers, and you still won. And you won by 2 scores. And
we turned the ball over in the right spots, though. That was the key.
Well,
you turn the ball over.
If there is such a thing. Obviously, we haven't had teams give us turnovers like what Illinois did. Fumble, the INT, and then the blocked punt. So essentially, you can count the blocked punt as an extra turnover as well. So, you know, the mistakes there were pretty killer, though. Obviously, you know, Harburg had plenty of moments. And maybe we can start there and talk about some of the juice here about Harburg and his performance in this game. You know, it wasn't pretty by any means. He had some nice moments. He had some great throws. I mean, he finished the game, I think, 12 for 24, so 50% completion percentage, 154 yards, a pick, and then the rushing touchdown. So what are your thoughts on Harburg and how he played?
Yeah, I think, you know, here there was some more errant passes with the wind, you know, gusting up to like 25 miles an hour. It's not easy to do. I think also just kind of with the way he releases the ball and kind of it's lower to up, you know, you can really catch risers on that wind. You could get a lot of lift. So just with his form, you know, that can be a little dangerous at times. And the ball definitely did sail on him multiple times. It's like in golf, you know, you don't really want to change your form right now, like during the season. You know, the worst thing you could do is like, okay, I need to start changing my grip while you're playing in a tournament. That's the worst thing you can do. So, you know, I don't think we're going to do that just even in season, you know, especially in that intermediate passing spots. But yeah, again, some of the throws were left to be desired. Again, I see some good things, though, where like I see him going through his progressions a little bit more, not always staring guys down. And there is positives to go with these negatives.
Yeah, I mean, he made some great plays, like the 4th down and 5 throw where he avoids pressure, rolls right, zings it out towards the sideline. Like, there's some incredible throws in there, but at the same time, then you stack it on top of some just extremely dangerous throws. You ended up with 3 official turnover-worthy plays, but there was also like 2 more that happened on plays that were called back, or, you know, were things that it actually didn't end up not counting. And so, or one was batted down, like the one that was batted down, that was probably
the most scary. Like, if the linebacker
surely
just jumps.
been picked.
if that linebacker just jumps up with two hands, I mean, Harburg just missed him. That was definitely the worst one in my mind.
Or the throws of Fedoni that got tipped up in the air near the goal line where you're like, oh, goodness. Like that was rising on him.
Fedoni got his hands on it, so yeah, again. And then there was another ball that kind of just sailed on him a little bit. Like where it was the right, he was rolling out and it's like, he sees that Malakai's open and this is a good read and then just does not get the right touch at all on the ball. So I mean, I still think there's a lot of upside with Harburg.
What is his upside? This season, or you mean in his career?
Again, I hope that if there is some crazy transfer portal guy, I always want us to try and improve and compete.
Right.
And, I think it's a disservice to Harburg, the team, and everybody else if we're not trying to go get the best players we can. We don't want another Adrian Martinez, Joe Burrow situation. I don't need to hear a second one for the rest of my existence.
We've already got our guy, man.
Of the what ifs. So, but I do think he can be a starter here. I mean, obviously he's 3-1 right now as a starter. He went on the road, got wins. The performance wasn't great, but also, some of those turnovers, that was just the running backs. So it was on the running backs, wasn't him.
I mean, the handoff was a little iffy. Probably on both of them a little bit, but
yes,
for sure. Obviously, I mean,
that's what happens when you're on your fourth string running back, freshman running, freshman
that
running
also
back.
comes to play.
Our last scholarship guy, and Harburg, this is his fourth game. So I think there's a lot of upside. I know, again, a win is a win is a win, especially in the Big Ten, and we can't. Right. I don't think, as Husker fans, just in general, we can't be saying, oh, this team is a middling Big Ten team. We have no right as a team that's gone 3-9 and 4-8 the last 6 years essentially. There is none. Every win is a good win. So I think that our expectations, the second we win, it can't be switched on to okay, we haven't made a bowl game in the last 6 years. Every win is important, and these ugly wins, we've never had an offense that's really looked that pretty when we're winning games anyway. It's not like we had a great running back, but it's not like the offense was this complete, beautiful package. At times when we were, competing a little bit more, we had a higher upside QB, sure, and some more skill position weapons, but this is year one for the coach. So I think all those things will happen as this continues to go on, but understanding where we're at and the fact that we're competing, we're trying, we're going to be able to win games. I think there's a lot of upside where I see a lot of games that we can go in and win, and it just makes me really excited for this team.
I mean, the worry, I was just going to say the worry is, though, with Harburg is you hope that the mistakes start dialing down, but when you started turning up the passing, the mistakes are still there. So
I think that was more on Satterfield, though, than it was Harburg. I'd say, because we even saw Matt Rhule get angry. We're throwing into the wind. There's not that much time left. We are up 10 points.
We also saw Matt Rhule get angry at Harburg.
Yes, that's true too. Satterfield, he is a spread guy. He wants that. He wants the gun. He wants more throwing.
But even downfield though, I mean, which throw are you talking about? Because on the 3rd and 20 in the fourth quarter, you don't have to throw that ball downfield, and you have the wind at your back. I get why he's trying to do it.
That was just a young QB mistake. I mean,
So I mean, again, I'm just saying that we can't expect perfection from Harburg by any means.
Yeah.
He's gonna turn the ball over in some of these games the rest of this year. And so then we'll talk more about the defense in a second here, but that I think there's
enough upside, and he can get the ball in Fedoni's hands. He's confident in the offense. I mean, besides the false starts that, again, Matt Rhule would kind of talk about it sooner, it feels like our offense can, get the ball down, snap. We're not really, the play clock problems aren't really an issue. So all those other things that you need to be able to do to have a solid offense, I feel like that Harburg can check the boxes off again, where Sims could not.
I mean, we were handed points in this game. We were handed the field goals. We were handed off the turnover, off of the blocked punt. The opportunities there. We didn't have to do much.
Handed our offense those points.
Sure, but the offense wasn't asked to do much, and it scored 20 obviously, but the defense was really what spurred the win here. Obviously,
100%.
Long-term season long with the offense though, the running game's the question mark here. I mean, we can average 12 yards of pass and have 150 yards passing per game. If we're running the ball effectively right now,
Grant
Harburg is our only runner. I mean, Grant was averaging 2.something a carry, 2.8 a carry, and Emmett Johnson 4 carry, but Harburg ended up with 18 carries for 82 yards, was our leading rusher again. So I mean, what do you think can happen here with the running game moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, again, Grant, some of the old problems we saw on the fumble. The third, on the fumble in this 3rd and 3-2, where again, he there is a hole. He can almost get something here. We might be able to get the first, but instead he elects to cut outside the blocks,
trying to make a big play.
To meet 3 Illinois defenders to get a 3-yard loss where, again, we're, forced to punt. Like, it's just those things. It's like you have to take what they're giving you. And that's why I actually did like Emmett Johnson a couple times. I really thought I had good vision, hit the holes well. And, again, the fumble, it stings because it was a miscue, but it wasn't a like, oh, I got like the ball just ripped from my arms.
Sure.
So, I don't know.
I mean, and this was something we talked about in the predictions video with Anthony Grant, is against bad teams. His explosive running works because he can out-athletic the guys to the edge. But against better Big Ten teams or against established Big Ten defenses, you're not going to be able to do it. It's like on that fumble, he tried to bounce outside, tried to pull a Kenneth Walker and like make a home run play or a Saquon Barkley and bounce it outside. But he just, you're not the elite level athlete to make those plays, right? Exactly. And so then when trying to make the play, the ball gets a little loose and then guy finds it, pops it out, and suddenly you're fumbling the ball inside the 15-yard line. When all you need is a field goal to go up by 3 scores.
Yeah, how many times is the ball just going to be dangling on his arm?
Gosh. So again,
the wind could blow out the football at this point, again, with how just untucked it is.
So that's where you get really scared, where you're never going to be able to rely on the offense to put a game away. So, I mean, good news for us is that we're playing against 3 teams that are very beatable the next 3 weeks.
And our defense can force mistakes on to help out the offense.
Like, these will be very winnable, considering especially 2 of them are at home and you play against Michigan State on the road. It'll be a tough one, but very winnable still. It just comes down to whether or not the offense can just limit these turnovers. And that's the question mark, though, because we just don't know. And like it's gonna be a dice roll every single time one of these running backs is holding the ball. It's like, what are you supposed to do? So like at this point, like obviously the next question is, there's a lot of problems with Satterfield and how he calls the game. You mentioned it earlier. So like in your opinion, is the play calling from Satterfield bad, or is it bad because he's doing the best with what he has? Like I think it's an interesting debate.
We're just in a difficult spot, like as hard as it can be, again, especially once Marcus goes down.
Oh my gosh, so sad.
So. And, and he's out the whole game. And now you just have, hit or miss Billy Kemp. And then Fedoni, who's come on and been good, especially, again, that connection with Harburg's been good. But that's all you got on the pass game. And that's really, that's all you can get going. Coleman finally caught his first pass. And I thought, he was able to get open at times. I am hopeful for that as we go forward. And so I'm
right. I mean, we need Jalen Lloyd.
Played okay. Yeah.
We need Lloyd and Malachi to break out.
I think that they can be good. I just think that more chemistry. I mean, I think that, Harburg just needs chemistry within himself in the offense, let alone with other young wide receivers. So that there's just a lot of growing pains that are going to be had. But yeah, we need that. And then again, we're on our 3rd and 4th string running back. We're on Anthony Grant, who we benched because he fumbled the ball, and we're getting the fumbles. And then Emmett Johnson, who again is just a true freshman who, again, with so much attrition, we've gotten so many dudes hurt that we need these 3 freshman guys to be good.
In the spring, the receiving core was going to be Billy Kemp, Xavier Betts, and Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, and Marcus Washington. So 3 of the 4 of them are gone. Yeah. So at this point, you got Billy Kemp left and the survivors. So it's like, it's obviously a tough situation. When it comes to Harburg, though, I hate to bring it up, but like the thing is this is why I still I so badly just want to see Jeff Sims not in like one more time. I know Harburg's fine, but like to me, Sims could have easily done what Harburg did in this game, except maybe way better. But like I know the turnovers is the problem. So like to me, it's just like I don't think it's blatantly obvious that Harburg has to be the starter, but he's done nothing at this point that deserves for him to be benched. So I'm okay with riding with Harburg, but I'm still so interested to see if there's anything that Sims could bring.
At this point, he's as much as an athlete that has so much, talent and like been on the field so much. Like we should probably find a way to get him involved, like we did with Harburg before. Like we need some sort of set with him, like whether that's like a wild, like a
wildcat where he just runs the ball.
He should have a package. I think that I agree. There should be. I think that Jeff Sims.
Like that could be a new element to the offense that we haven't seen yet that could add another layer to this offense. So I want to see Sims on the field. It doesn't have to be much, but just a little bit, once or twice a game. Yeah, I mean, as long as Jeff can catch the snaps, he's pretty dangerous. To be fair,
we have won the game.
Had some cleaner pockets than normal in this game.
Yeah, the 40-yard bomb to start the game, super clean pocket.
And
with guys in the box.
For sure.
Yeah. Bryce Benhart has not been horrible. Like Bryce Benhart has U-turned thus far in this season. Like he was obviously one of the thorns in our side from last year, and he has turned around to be a useful lineman. Ethan Piper has cleaned up the mistakes as well.
Against the elite front seven against Illinois, though, it wasn't a horrible performance from the O-line, all things considered. The running game is still a huge problem, and we saw it against Michigan same way. We could not get a push when we needed to get a push, and the running lanes for the most part weren't there, except for like on Harburg's touchdown. So those are it's just the questions is like, moving forward, maybe Purdue, Northwestern are going to be slightly worse defenses. But at this point after that, they're all better. So Michigan and Maryland's is debatable. It's questionable. So I think moving forward, that's going to be something like offensive line play. I just don't know if it's going to get any better, and that's why I get a little bit worried.
Better than we were last year at the offensive line again, which is a very big positive. But it's still rough.
Yeah, relatively. So, okay, let's talk about the defense. Obviously, the defense dominated, won the game for us. They held the line every single time. They wanted the smoke. They wanted to make plays, and they were making plays. They forced some turnovers. Phelan Sanford, the MVP, popped the ball out with his helmet. You love to see it. So, obviously, going into the game, we were both really interested in seeing how we were going to replace Deshaun Singleton, how we were going to replace Luke Reimer, and what that would look like. So, what are your first thoughts, impressions, takeaways on the defensive side?
Nick Henrich, who I've
said some things.
Honestly, I called him out when he had played poor games because he had a frequent amount. And again, PFF, he'd been graded in the 40s. Like, that's not
he was one of the worst linebackers in all of Power 5.
But yeah, he had been one of the worst.
For 3 years.
But shout out, for 3 years. This has been consistent. This isn't like one game kind of good, one game kind of bad. It had been consistently not good. But here, he stepped up and had his best game of his whole career. So shout out to you, Nick Henrich, for figuring out for this game, which is exciting because, again, we know he's such a good presence inside the locker room and such a good leader and does a lot of the things right, obviously, to be one of the 9, even though he really wasn't starting or one of the 10. So, I mean, again, that's really exciting for Nick Henrich. And he had a good game multiple times. I'm like, wow, way to make a play. That's really exciting for him.
It was a really good tackling game from us. We only had a few moments early, especially on that first drive and just maybe like one drive at the end. But for the most part, a really good tackling game from the team. So that was exciting to see. We've been wanting a bounce back game on that end because the last few weeks have been a little rough. We were worried with how Smoke Harris, dominated the edges. And basically, there was 3 plays where Isaiah Williams found space, but for the most part, we kept him in check. And he didn't torch us. And so that was a huge win and exciting
only one
to
torching
see.
Plus play. Yeah.
Yeah. And exciting to see. I mean, I think the long was 21 21-yard play for Isaiah Williams. Obviously, the big play to Pat Bryant was the 46-yard touchdown where Q got kind of smoked and impressive throw. But yeah, long story short, I think there was huge improvement in covering space, tackling in open field. And overall, I would say just anticipation in our corners. I mean, I thought Malcolm had a few plays where his break on the ball was just beautiful. And defending the first down marker was so much more effective than it had been the last few weeks.
I don't know if it was the mentality or the scheming was way better, but man, just some of the things that Tony White does, like where he called QB spy on like a 3rd and 8, which is just
the John Bullock sack, the QB spy sack.
Where it's just like, it's just such a chess move, and you're so excited. And Luke Allmeyer, we got nothing. We dropped a ton of guys, and then the huge John Bullock sack. Like there's a lot of just really great plays. And again, I love this play calling and just Tony White. I'm just it's tough on those last couple weeks. And there was in the Michigan game, especially, or in Colorado, the second half, there was a couple times that we got torched. But I just loved it, and we just stayed in it, and like a complete game for 4 whole quarters, which is something I still think Nebraska needed. Because even right at the end of the Minnesota game, even though we played really good, we collapsed at the last bit. We let them get all those yards, drive down the field, and be able to kick a last-second field goal where they had a chance to go win the game for us. And here again, our offense had coughed up the ball, and then our defense takes that challenge and is able to again play a complete game. And that's something that, again, we can just build off. Like, again, even in the last years of Nebraska, like all these good defenses, it's like we could get there almost, but then they'd have one last chance to
wouldn't get
seal
that
this
stop.
game, seal the game for us. Yeah, and they couldn't get the stop. They'd get driven down on or go to OT. We'd choke it. Our defense could not make the stop. So to see that, again, to meet that opportunity and be excited about it, I will say the other one coach speak thing that I really like from Matt Rhule is they told the team, hey, after we get past the 50-yard line, we're going to go for it on fourth downs. Do you want that? And that all the defense was excited. I love that they communicated. Everyone was on the same page.
Yeah.
Again, that's just
the transparency and the communication is so refreshing.
Yes, and I think that's just, again, that's how you have a good team, is just like everybody trusting one another and knowing what's going on. So it's not a surprise. It's not a shock. Our offense, we made it on the 4th and 5 that we went for. But if we didn't, our defense would be like, hell yeah, let's go. And I love that, again, at the end of the press conference, Matt Rhule, like after there was a turnover, all the defense was coming up to him and he said, I can't say what they were saying, but they're very excited to get back on the field.
Yeah.
That's just, that makes you really hype. Again, a defense that, again, exactly, they want to be that. So
dude,
I'm just very excited for him.
The one, I wouldn't say it's a worry, but like in the game, we highlighted beforehand. I mean, Illinois' pass protection has been just awful, and we didn't get home as much as I was hoping we would. I mean, we ended up with 2 sacks essentially, and we had a lot of hurries or pressures, times where he had to get out of the pocket and move a little bit. But I don't think we never hit him outside of the 2 sacks. And so it was a little bit disappointing. It didn't really feel like we were winning our ones much in this game. So, I mean, how do you feel about this pass rush right now? And like, what's the upside narrative for the pass rush, or how we're going to do this? Is it the effective lack of talent in the pass rush, or is it more how we're trying to call the games right now?
I think a lot of it is how we're trying to call the games. I will say, I think we found something good in Prince Will McMillan again.
Oh,
this
you
week.
stole right out from my mouth.
He did really good on his pass rush for that. So again, being able to just kind of find and keep plugging in those guys to find that right situation for us, because I think a lot of it is the way that we call this game. And again, our interior linemen, they might beat their guy, win the bull rusher or the double team, but they're just not fast enough, especially with, again, Altmaier's another dual threat quarterback. We've seen JJ McCarthy, now Luke Altmaier, and we've seen Nathan Kaliak-Manis, and we've seen Shedeur Sanders. These guys are hard to hit in the backfield anyway because they have a lot of athleticism. So I'm excited to see more pocket passers. I think these sacks can go up when we face some of these, again, less dual threat quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of the meta right now in college football, though, where most quarterbacks have a pretty respectable amount of mobility. But like you said, I mean, Prince Will, he had 8 pass rush snaps and 4 hurries on those 8 pass rush snaps and looked really good and won 2 of his one-on-ones really well. So I was really excited about he only played 14 snaps and 8 of them were pass rushes. The development there is exciting. Obviously, he's a true freshman, so it's like you don't want to expect too much from a true freshman like this in a situation like this rest of the season. But long story short, I mean, the potential's there rest of the season for him to develop and make some big time plays. And obviously the future gets really exciting. I am a little bit worried about the lack of winning one-on-ones. Jamari Butler seems to be the most consistent pass rusher we have on the team right now.
David Wright can be pretty good from the linebacker spot at times.
Agreed.
He's had good weeks.
But we see Jamari with his hand in the dirt a little bit more often. Jamari, he had 47 of his 54 snaps were pass rush snaps. Where like Javen, only 3 of his snaps were pass rush snaps. So he was in coverage most of the game. Yeah. Obviously, part of that is because Reimer's out. So he has to kind of fill that role now. Before he was at a little bit more flexibility. So that comes to play as well. So
yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. There's a lot of different aspects here. Obviously, Phelan Sanford came in and had to fill in for Singleton. And I mean, he played great. So it's exciting to see Phelan make plays.
Just a Nebraska JUCO transfer from Hastings College or whatnot. It's just...
Bro, he saved a touchdown. That was a game-changing tackle. Obviously, it's good to know that like if guys go down, we still have Phelan there, and he'll be solid. Like he's not gonna ruin your defense, and he can go out and make plays and finds room to play. I mean, he's been playing college for a while. I mean, how long? I mean, how old is he?
I have no clue.
He has got, because you're right. It's been a minute. He was a freshman in 2018 at Hastings and then transferred to Nebraska. Where do you think his defense stands in the Big Ten, nationally? And like, do you see it being elite? Can we compete in the Big Ten with a defense like this moving forward? Like, how good are we? Do you think we live up to the statistics? Like, we're currently 8th in opponents' yards per rush, 35th in opponents' points per game, 33rd in opponents' points per play, 18th in yards per play. Like, what are your thoughts on this defense?
I do think in a lot of ways that we are a very legitimate defense. I mean, again, we saw it with Colorado, with a team that is able to score points, and we are able to do really good things for a long time. Again, I think for me, the thing that I want to keep seeing is just to be one of these where I really feel like we're a top 25 defense, where we're Nebraska, we can win a lot of these games, where we can go to a bowl game. It is, I think Matt Rhule, he said in the press conference too, of like the defense needs to understand that that's like we're a defensive team and identity, and that means 4 quarters. And so I like that we have done this now, where I feel like for the first time we played 4 quarters of football. And I think that can continue to be built. I think there's also other jumps that these players can make. I think Omar Brown still can find another gear as a defender. I think that Quentin Newsome, even like a higher level of consistency. And yeah, all these freshmen, I think there's big jumps for them to make as they continue to playing. And
it's just like, you got 6 games left, It's like, can we see them get to that next level? I just don't know. Like, it's just, it's so strange that we're so good, considering like we don't have like the studs that many of the good defenses at Nebraska that weren't even this good had.
Yeah,
like, we had some NFL players on those average to good defenses, and this defense doesn't have like a obvious NFL talent standout, yet we are really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, again, athletically, I think Javen is, and I think that, Deshaun can be, or Omar Brown can be, as it continues on.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's not, I mean, obviously,
I don't know if Javen is.
It's not like Randy Gregory, or we're getting like a top,
right? Cam Taylor Britt, or JoJo, who was like an all college athlete, just not an NFL guy.
Yeah, shout out to Cam Taylor Britt for the pick 6.
That's insane.
The Bengals win. That was very exciting. We don't have that crazy talent, but I think, again, the sum is so much greater than the parts. And I do think that all of these guys are talented. And I think maybe some of the young guys, they will be, but right now that they're just on like a good level, and like there can be jumps here for some of these guys. I don't know. I think Deshaun Singleton can definitely be an NFL, like a very good NFL guy as this continues on.
Especially our front 7. I mean, there is not a player on the D-line or probably on the linebacking core.
It's Tony White. It's this 3-3-5.
No, yeah, exactly. Like, it's like with the food that the chef is cooking with the ingredients he's got. This man is a Michelin chef, bro.
Dude, like, I'm like, Tony White is the real freaking deal. We're 6 games in. We're this nuts.
With the less athletic offenses, we're really primed to succeed.
Yes.
Like I said, I don't think we have like the NFL tier athletes. And that's why you saw a struggle like in the second half against Colorado, who had so much speed. And of course, against Michigan, where it's like they have NFL players all over the board and the athletes there, where we struggled in space, and their elite receivers beat us downfield.
And that's a great point too, with, again, like with the pass rush, we couldn't get against JJ McCarthy. That's because we just don't quite have those dudes
athletes,
yet. When we're
imagine when Tony White has those dudes, bro.
Yeah,
imagine Prince will on 4 years of development,
or some jack players that are actually like tweener hybrid guys who are filthy at the pass rush and also can defend. Like, we're gonna get those dudes, and this defense is gonna be disgusting because you can mask everything. There's so much you can do, and the more athletes we have, the more guys we get to stack up into the line, and you don't know what we're gonna drop. You don't know if we're gonna rush. And again, just the more that we can get to the NFL level, it's just the terrifying defenses that you can have, where it's like the quarterback is looking at 8 dudes on the line of scrimmage, and you're like, I don't know how many they're gonna drop or rush, or who it's gonna be. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
I mean, obviously the win was monumental, so it's just absolutely insane. And with that said, next Monday we are releasing the Homestead store, which is our new clothing brand and our clothing store, and it'll go live. And we're going to launch it next Monday. So be on the lookout. We are really excited. We put a lot of time and love and effort into the designs and the merchandise. And we tested all of it to make sure it's good quality. So be on the lookout for that next Monday. It's going to be a blast. And hopefully you guys enjoyed the merch or the clothing as much as we do, because it's been lots of fun. And we're wearing it right now. So
Yes, sir.
Shout out Homestead Store next Monday. Be on the lookout. So with that said, as always, I'm Josh. That's Caleb. This has been Big Red Homestead, and guys, we will see you next time.
Go Big Red,
baby.